Physics says that bumblebees can't fly. Well, here's something else that probably can't fly, but let's give it a go.
It's called terrestrius because it goes underground like a terrier and it bolts mice. And the point is, these are queens flying. They're stocking up with nectar and they're finding mouses' nests in which they make their nests. They go into the mouse nest, smelling the mice, which smell strongly of a chemical called acetamide, and then emit this sharp noise, which I hope we'll be able to record, as they go into the nest, and the mice are terrified and flee in front of them because they sting like whatnot, and the mouse does not like that. So you can use them for terriers bolting mice.
The story goes back not just to my father's childhood, but to the childhood of an old man he once met who told him a story. We're back in the 19th century. Here's the buzz.
He and his brother were bored, so they collected bumblebees in the garden and used their mother's hairnets and put the bumblebees into the mice's burrows in the larder, having draped hairnets over, and bolted the mice out and dispatched them. So we're going to catch some bumblebees and we're going to put them in a bird feeder from which some of the furniture has been removed, like this, all right? And you catch them in that. And then you go to the mouse's nest, because once a bumblebee is frightened, it flies towards the light. So we catch them in that, and then we put this against the mouse's nest, and then you put in the plunger at the other side, and you push the bee gently. The bee comes out into the mouse's nest, and then she'll go into cover, and then you block her in. Having netted the exits, you should find the mice running nicely.
Well, that's all very well in theory, but does it work in practice? First, you need bumblebees. Lots and lots of bumblebees. It's the day of the great eclipse. Here it is. Missed it? So did I. And so did the bumblebees. They're out in force. Some are sipping nectar, some are looking for mouse holes, and some are simply sunbathing. We only managed to get a tiny clip of the sound a mouse-facing bumblebee makes.
That's the
Missed it? Here it is again. Now let's look for mice. We're after field mice, and you should know this is indoor sport too. It also works on house mice. There are holes all along this sunny bank. As any sportsman will tell you, the best laid schemes are mice and man gang after glee.
We're going to introduce this to the mouse's nest hole, wherever it may be. All right, yeah. Put that in there for the mouse's. Oh, she's out. Right, and then she comes out again. Let's get her.
It's not as easy as all that then?
No, it's
Highly skilled.
highly skilled work, but
In fact, you could say, you know, ferreters really have it easy.
oh yes, dead easy. You've got an animal that's keen on its game, and here you've got an animal that desperately doesn't want to do what you want it to do.
Of course, mice have the same protection in British law as hares and foxes. You aren't allowed to chase them with hounds. The next thing you need to do is net the mouse holes. First, father puts out the tiny net. In goes the bee, and this happens.
No, it's got away!
Well, that was a success. Maybe we should have high-fived. High-fived, get it? Let's go straight to the post-match interview.
Before we get into the biology, let's just start with the general principle seemed to have worked.
Yes, very exciting indeed, yes. It's extraordinary how a little general natural history knowledge does enhance life in the countryside.
It does, exactly. Now, we're talking about one kind of bumblebee here, aren't we? Terrestrius.
Yes, that's the one we've got in the garden, but there's another common one, the white-tailed bumblebee. This is the buff-tailed bumblebee.
Does the white-tailed bumblebee go underground?
Yes, both very similar.
Oh, okay, so the traditional bumblebee-looking bumblebees.
Yes, they'd all work, probably. Yeah. And this is the one we're looking at. This is the buff-tailed bumblebee,
Yep.
as opposed to the white-tailed bumblebee, but it doesn't really matter for all purposes. Almost any of these will do.
To be or not to be. On a bright spring day like this, I say it's nobler to be.
It's a runner! It's a runner!